This.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Our largest single-theme land expansion ever.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 149 of Matterhorn Mondays, coming to you guys live from the Outpost. I'm, of course, your host, Matterhorn Matt.
I'm just your guy, the guy who hangs around here sometimes.
Just your guy.
Jeremy.
We're back, everybody. I'm just your guy. Yeah, just Jeremy and I today. Alex sadly could not make it to this week's episode. If we could all send Alex his, or I guess our regards. Is that how that phrase works? Send Alex your best wishes to him. Yeah. So for now, it's just, for today's episode at least, it's just Jeremy and I, 20 more episodes until episode 169. That will be a big milestone for this podcast. That will actually mark the 3 years. Episode 169 will mark the 3-year anniversary, I think, of the show. So that's pretty nice. We're going to be excited to get to that one. But... But for now, you guys, we have a great episode planned. Just the two of us, just two guys chatting some Disney, drinking some Snapple. We'll see what happens. But you guys know the drill. Links to all of our social media will be down in the description below. And yeah, if you'd like to be wished a happy birthday live on the stream, you can do so by clicking the link down below. I think you can also do !birthday in the chat, and it'll link you to the Google form that you can fill out. Submit your birthday, and we'll add it to our birthday calendar. And it looks like here we have 2 birthdays this week. This past Sunday, the 27th, is Mishy Cat's birthday. She's a member of our Discord server, so happy birthday to Mishy Cat, as well as this upcoming Wednesday, the 30th. It's Riley's birthday. I don't know who Riley is, but it's fun to say Riley like that, I guess. Happy birthday to Riley. And that does it for this week's birthday from the Peak, I guess is the name of that segment. But yeah, if you guys would like to call in, 575-386-5814, or leave a voicemail, voice your thoughts on any of the topics that we're going to be talking about today. But yeah, we're excited to get into this week's episode. A little bit of, I guess I should preface this, a little bit of technical difficulties with the show. YouTube changed its sort of way that you live stream, and the way that we've been live streaming for the past, 30 episodes, 50 episodes maybe, is that I stream to this website called Restream, and that stream that allows you to stream to multiple websites. That's how we were allowed to stream the main channel, the second channel, Facebook, I think, and as well as Periscope on Twitter. So we were able to do 4 live streams at once, and the chat actually that you see on the screen, that you've been seeing on screen for the past however many episodes, is linked to that website, Restream. And recently YouTube had some changes where they don't allow streaming from third-party services like that anymore. It has to be straight from OBS or whatever streaming software that you prefer, straight from streaming software to YouTube. So we can't do the multicast streams anymore unless I just found out about this like a minute before we started going live here. So that's why the chat is sadly not working today, but next episode we'll have that fixed up here. We'll see if we can find a workaround to get those streams out to not just the main channel, but every other platform that we've been going to. So yeah, rip the chat.
I guess we'll have to transfer to Twitch.
Oh no,
it'll be a Twitch exclusive.
Twitch exclusive. I mean, I'd be, Twitch is pretty cool, but yeah. So Vetter actually asked, "Hey Matt, the on-screen chat is not working." Yeah, so that is the reason why that's not working. But like I said, hopefully we'll get to that. We'll fix that here in the next episode or so. But before then, it's time for everybody's favorite segment, you guys. Brrr, Matt Snaps.
A whole wide world of knowledge waits underneath the cap. It's once again time this week for Matterhorn Matt Snaps.
All right, and Jeremy said I guess I forgot to change the thing for that. Okay, so we'll just stick to this
Well, you better do it.
We'll just stick to this camera angle, I guess. But strawberry kiwi, same as always. I'll probably switch it up next week. I don't know. I've been feeling the strawberry kiwi. There it is. Now it's center. Strawberry kiwi. And I had to go to McDonald's to get dinner today, and so I got ice from McDonald's. Kind of irrelevant. I don't know why I mentioned that. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into let's see if we can snap this open. Give a good snap here today. I can't get a good grip. Oh my gosh. Here we go. Interesting snap. I don't know about that one. That's not the one of our proudest snaps here. This is real fact number 735. A full moon is 9 times brighter than a half moon. So that must mean that a new moon is -9 times brighter than a half moon. So there it is. Is that how math works? I don't know. Vetter asked what the voicemail number is. 575-386-5814 is the number to call in if you'd like to leave a voicemail, if you have any thoughts, like we mentioned before, on any of the topics that we're going to be discussing. But before we get into any of the voicemails, we actually don't have any to get into. But before we get into anything else, it's time for this week's News from the Peak.
We now present to you
News. It cuts off like you're about to say the F word. That's pretty funny, I thought. But we have some great pieces of news here today. Our first bit of news, and Polynesian is spelled right, you guys. Don't even question it. New overhaul to the Polynesian.
I see Polynesial. I see trawler. I see. Very interesting.
Polynesial. Disney revealed new information regarding the previously announced Polynesian resort overhaul. In the newly released piece of concept art that you can see here, it is shown that the project includes a complete reimagining of the resort's front entrance and monorail station. The refurbishment will not completely close the resort, as the villas and bungalows will remain open, and the shops on the resort ground will remain open with modified hours as well. So we're very excited to see this. This is a nice piece of concept art. I should have gotten like a comparison before and after, but you know, it's got the triangle thing there. It looks pretty cool. We'll see how it translates into real life. But for our second bit of news from the peak here, this is exciting for all you Marvel fans. The trailer for the new Disney Plus MCU series WandaVision was recently released, as well as a possible Thanksgiving weekend release date. So it was confirmed recently that WandaVision would premiere actually this year. Before, I think the Winter Soldier show was supposed to premiere before WandaVision this year, but I guess the sort of filming got messed up with the whole, COVID situation. Turns out WandaVision is going to be premiering, this Thanksgiving weekend, apparently, as well as along with that new trailer that dropped. It's been a long time since we've had any Marvel, I feel like. That we've gone pretty much this whole year without like a Marvel movie or any Marvel stuff at all. So it's going to be exciting to get back into the swing of all this Marvel stuff. But for our final bit of news from the peak, Disney announced an expansion to their 4 keys customer service system. The new 5th key is deemed inclusion, and they released this statement, quote, "For more than 60 years, the 4 keys of safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency have provided a foundation for our culture and guided our renowned approach to service as we welcomed guests from all over the world. As we keep moving forward and working together to drive meaningful cultural change, we are introducing inclusion as a new key and will be rolling out the 5 keys globally across, all their cast member training." So that's really awesome to hear. But Jeremy, on that note, what are your thoughts on this week's topics that we picked for news from the peak? Spooky season, you guys.
Ooh, Halloween's come. There's that. Okay. So Yeah, I mean, listen, the Polynesian renovation, they renovate it every so often. They do kind of refurbish it and sort of change, not the overall look. I think that concept art looks nice. We'll see how it pans out, obviously. WandaVision looks interesting. Maybe I'll check it out. Who knows? And inclusion, I think that's really interesting. We do know that they've sort of formed a committee recently of people to dedicate how they can be more inclusive as a company. So this is an interesting move. I know it's getting some criticism only because it feels like a very bureaucratic solution to a bigger problem. But listen, it's a step in the right direction. It's something, and it shouldn't be everything, but it is a step. So I think that is pretty cool.
Yeah, we're very glad to see Disney taking this initiative, pushing forward, trying to make some change within the company, training their cast members. Yeah, that's really cool. And but I guess before we move on, we do have a voicemail here from Mr. Mark. So let's go ahead and take a listen here to what Mark has to say about. The transcript is here, so I know what he's gonna say, but you guys don't. So let's go ahead and find out here.
Here, I'm actually calling from downtown Disney. The NBA Finals start on Wednesday. Who's your pick, Miami or LA? I really want to see I want to see what you think. It's going to be very interesting. An underdog versus number one with LeBron and AD. And it's at Disney, so the best of both worlds. How about that? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so I did see that the Lakers, I believe, won their game. Was it the Clippers that they were playing to beat to get to the finals? I don't remember. I haven't really been keeping up with basketball for some reason. But, I've been a Lakers fan growing up. My whole family has taught me the ways, so I'm going to have to go with good old Los Angeles. I feel like, how many rings does LeBron have? I think he has 4? No, I don't even know how many rings. How many rings? How many rings LeBron has? But, I got to put my money on the boys. They looked really good at the start of the season, through the season before, the season had to be canceled. But me personally am hoping for the Lakers to take the finals. I guess I'll try and predict the outcome. I think the Lakers will take the finals 4-3. It'll go to 7 games. I was trying to do the math in my head. It'll go to 7 games.
Okay.
So against the Heat. Yeah, the Heat have been kind of, like you said, the underdog. So we'll see how that pans out. But Jeremy, do you have any thoughts on basketball at all?
Listen, I don't really follow basketball. I have many friends in this area who are Clippers fans, but I know that they will rally behind the historic Lakers, and I'll back the Lakers all the way. I'm with you, Matt.
Nice. All right. We are now Matterhorn Lakers Mondays. I don't know. I'm trying to make it funny there. But yeah, so that does it for this week's news from the Peak. And we do have some very interesting topics to get into this week. First, new Beauty and the Beast ride opens in Tokyo Disneyland. We're going to be giving our sort of brief thoughts there on that. We did watch some ride-throughs the other day. And then, of course, we're going to be getting into the COVID headline rundown. And finally, why change it up, you guys? We're going to be talking more about Disneyland, when it will possibly reopen. But I guess more specifically, we're going to be talking about Disneyland's push from to the government to reopen the parks. Baskethorn Ball Days is the new name of the podcast, according to Nate. Baskethorn Ball Days. That's a good one. All right. Well, on that note, Beauty and the Beast, you guys. Oh, that's awkward. Oh, Jeremy's still tiny. We'll fix that here. Jeremy's very tiny in the picture, but yeah. So I will admit that Jeremy and I watched Oh, there he is. He just has to peek up in the corner.
I hate it.
I guess I will admit that Jeremy and I watched this ride through at like 4 a.m. the other day. So,
yeah, it was. We ended up playing Overwatch. It was a whole ordeal.
It was really.
I'm not lying.
It was really crazy, but yeah. So we did end up talking, or I guess watching the ride through, and we do have some thoughts that we'd like to go out and go ahead and I guess this is our review of this new attraction. I guess
so. Yeah.
I mean, like groundbreaking
tentative
attraction.
Review because we can never it'll be a while till we get to physically go on it. So it's just more like first impressions in the virtual sphere,
First
less than a
impressions.
review.
Yeah. So we're very excited to get into this. As I'm sure you all know, the highly anticipated Beauty and the Beast dark ride attraction officially opened today, or I guess not today. Oh yeah, today, September 28th. That's the date, right? 28th. Cool.
Wow, that is. Unless
is
your
that
notes
the right
are wrong,
date?
I don't
Unless
know.
the notes are wrong. I don't know. We're going to say it opens today.
Yeah, that could be.
Officially open today, September 28th.
Maybe it did.
As part of Tokyo Disneyland's newest major expansion. Now, yeah, like I said, we're going to be getting into a discussion about this. I guess we can start with. I don't know how should we start this discussion, Jeremy? What are your overall opinions on this attraction? Because going into this, we have seen those sort of sneak peeks of the Belle animatronic, as well as the scene with her and the Beast, like sort of standing around, I think. And from those first impressions that we sort of covered a while back on the show, we were very, what's the word? Very impressed, I guess, with the animatronics. But Jeremy, watching the ride-throughs on YouTube, seeing the discussion going around, what are your overall first impressions here on this brand new Beauty and the Beast attraction now open in Tokyo Disneyland?
It's hard to answer. Overall, okay, there was so much hype. There was so much hype attached to this attraction. No matter what side of the fandom of Disney that you fall under, everyone was backing this horse. The exteriors, the way that the expansion worked out in Fantasyland is stunning. Aesthetically, it's beautiful. That castle is wonderful. It almost feels like a second castle.
Yeah.
In the park, really stunning. Listen, overall it's very good. It's an attraction I wish that we would, see an expansion of the classic dark ride form here. Overall, it's very enjoyable. And I think we'll get a little nitpicky.
Yeah.
Moving on, but overall, I just want to preface this. Even if I start criticizing aspects of it, I think it's probably very enjoyable. It's technologically impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of hype coming into this attraction, like I mentioned before, and I guess I will say I'm impressed. Like Jeremy said, the exterior, the castle of this attraction is absolutely stunning. I saw a few pictures, I think where it was like all foggy in the morning. I think it was in the morning. Some foggy pictures, and it just looked very, very beautiful. And you compare that to Walt Disney World's version of the castle, the tiny forced perspective one. It's like what's that meme where it's like, "Don't talk to me or my son ever again." Or this is the guy that you're. I don't even. I'm trying to think off the memes off the top of my head, but. Yeah, it's obviously an improvement off of the castle that is in the Magic Kingdom in Florida. Very beautiful. Yeah, the animatronics are amazing. I think I remember Alex not being very fond of these animatronics. I can't remember his exact reasoning, but I think they personally look very fluid. It does look like the characters popped right from the movie scene, but I guess we can sort of get into, like Jeremy said, sort of our nitpicking segment here, because it's not at least in our opinions, based on what we've seen from the ride-throughs and the pictures and stuff, it's not a perfect attraction. I'd say in some places the pacing is a little strange. I think the one thing that stood out for me the most was the very first scene. I guess spoilers going forward. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can skip ahead to the timestamp that will be down in the description. But yeah, the very first scene that opens this attraction is this "Be Our Guest" scene that you see on the picture here, and for me personally, it was kind of an abrupt transition, I guess, because you go right from the queue where you're packed into the teacup ride vehicles, the trackless ride vehicles, which I guess we should mention the ride vehicles sort of oscillate, or I guess move. Kind of like the... Do they... I can't remember off the top of my head. It was 4 in the morning when we watched this ride through. But anyways, it goes right from the loading queue to the "Be Our Guest" scene, and that sort of felt like a kind of awkward transition for me. It's throwing you into this sort of huge spectacle of a scene, or at least it was a huge spectacle of a scene in the movie. But you get thrown into the Be Our Guest scene. It's in my opinion, kind of a weird scene to start off with, and then toppled on top of the fact that the scene is kind of empty. I think was the term that we decided that scene was. Of course, you have the great sort of the props that are on top of the table. You have Belle sort of dancing in her chair. But yeah, that first scene is impressive, but to me it just doesn't sit right being the first scene of the ride. But I guess Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this first scene here?
I don't know if it's necessarily like a bad way to start, but I agree with you. There's this it's like, oh, we're starting here. Okay, all right, yeah, all right, let's go. And it is probably the most one of the most impressive, spectacular parts of the attraction. In the video, it does kind of feel a little more sparse than you'd expect, but I probably being there, the space feels used and exciting. I love how you turn around, you turn back around. There's even more stuff on the table.
I thought that was nice.
So it is exciting. I guess the sort of main thing is like that we're probably going to talk about the most is, and I don't know, in the video that we were able to watch, a few nights ago, there's probably going to be more now that today's the official opening, but I don't know if there's more pre-shows than the one that was just in that video, so I don't know if there's more of like a rewarding build-up to starting at Be Our Guest. Like with Rise of the Resistance, there's like the ride begins far before you board the vehicle. You know what I mean? So the build to the conflict and the action in that ride is earned because the ride begins with multiple pre-shows. So I don't know. The Belle is okay. So I'm being told in my ear in the comments that the Belle and Beast intro is the pre-show. Is it the only pre-show? Maybe Freddie can answer that as well. I don't know. Maybe that's what he meant when he said that, is the pre-show. So then I'll get to this. And this was my very first comment that I said right off the bat as we watched it. I think somehow they fell into this trap. I don't want to say a trap because they're very meticulously designed, very talented designers. I don't want to try to somehow argue that the Imagineers aren't good at what they do. They're the best at what they do. Just want to get that out of the way. But there was some mindset that somehow they didn't feel that the writers, the audience would like suspend their disbelief that they had to only have scenes within this castle that they've entered through. And I think that limited them to just having scenes that take place in the castle without having a greater experience of the whole overall emotional tone of Beauty and the Beast, which is just the basic principle of what a great Fantasyland dark ride is. It's about capturing an emotional experience of the film as opposed to getting to moments in the film. And so yeah, we'll probably talk more about what I'm going to lead into with that, but I'll let you talk in response to that, Matt.
Yeah, I remember that is one of the things that we mentioned 4 a.m. the other day when we watched the ride through. And I guess sort of moving forward from the the Be Our Guest scene, I wanted to talk about, I think it was the next scene right after that is the one where Belle and the Beast are singing to each other, and sort of Belle is positioned off to one corner of the room, I think with the horse, and then the Beast is sort of perched up, almost looking down at Belle from a balcony. They're singing that song. I can't remember the song right off the top of my head, where she's singing about, I guess falling in
something
love.
Something
there. That's what it's called. Singing about falling in love with the Beast, and it's very. I don't know. The animatronics are great for what they do. Granted, in this scene, they don't really do much, from what I can remember. But the ride vehicles are sort of just plopped down into that scene in this big room, and they're sort of just like spinning around, not really doing anything in particular, and that was another thing that sort of stood out for me as well. The ride vehicles, just really just spinning in a circle for that entire song. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that second scene, Mr. Jeremy?
Yeah, it goes back to directly what the conversation in chat is talking about, that Freddie's pretty much talking about, which is that it feels very much, and this is the term that's been thrown around in Diz Twitter. The term that's being thrown around is it feels like a greatest hits kind of ride. You visit the greatest hits, or actually you visit, it's like highlights more so. You don't visit all the greatest, you visit highlights, the ones that are constrained to the castle structure. I call it a concert. I think it's like a concert. It's like the tone that you feel, it doesn't feel like you're experiencing the emotional tone or the overall emotional idea of Beauty and the Beast. It's almost as if like the characters have like signed a contract in which they are to perform their greatest hits to the audience, but something there, I mean, we've seen the beginning of this trend we saw with Frozen Ever After, which is basically just like this, all the characters have gathered post story of the film, and they're just going to serenade you with their greatest hits, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes a little further. It's a lot more immersive, obviously. It's not restrained to the infrastructure of another attraction. It's, infrastructure designed for this experience, but because that they're able to take that trend further, I don't know if it's a trend I think is particularly effective with that. That's something they're seeing, what Matt said, they sing pretty much like the full song, it
yeah,
feels
the full song,
like
you're just sort of
as you're
listening to it.
As you're, like weaving between, other teacups. And it feels like you're watching an immersive concert. Like the characters are performing for you something something you've seen before, and you're not experiencing the overall feeling of Beauty and the Beast. It's that scene is very odd, and I think is very telling of that kind of trend and where the direction they're moving toward in terms of Fantasyland type dark rides.
Yeah, and Freddie pointed out in chat here, it's like a theme park musical versus a Broadway musical. The ride has potential, but there is something missing in the execution. Yeah, that pretty much echoes what we've been saying. And then from the something there scene, I always forget I think I always skip that part in the movie because it's sort of, the song's not my favorite, but
skip it when you watch the movie.
Granted, it's been a while since I've seen the animated version, but from that scene, it transitions into sort of scene of Belle and the Beast looking over sort of a balcony, and then curtains close on them, and then it transitions into like the sort of riot that starts outside the the castle. And I remember Jeremy and I laughing at one point because it's just probably just in the ride through. I'm watching it here on my second screen.
No, we were laughing because we were loopy. We were laughing because we were. I don't know. We don't need to mention this. We were laughing because it was 4 a.m. and there was no reason to laugh at all. So,
well, granted, it was pretty funny because you see in the POV, it transitions from like overlooking. It transitions from overlooking, Belle and the Beast at the looking over the balcony, and then the curtains close, and then you sort of pan to the left a bit. I think it shows. I think it's like either a projection or a screen of like the people outside the castle with like pitchforks and everything, and it just pans like right away to the big dresser, the dresser, and she's just like, it's just kind of funny when it transitions to that part. She's like blocking the door is what she's doing.
It's not really, it's not really funny. We were just loopy.
Yeah, no,
we were just loopy. It's a great. It's a fine moment. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It makes perfect sense.
It does. But yeah, so
I'm not being sarcastic.
And then the transitions, it doesn't really do much with that whole riot scene from what I remember. It just sort of transitions from that, and then the Beast is sort of resurrected as he's killed. The animatronic sort of lifts from the ground, and then there's a glorious Pepper's Ghost effect that transitions from the Beast version of the prince to the human version. That was really, in my opinion, well done. It reminded me a lot of the Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean, where the skeleton turns into Jack Sparrow, if you guys remember that part in the ride. Reminds me of that. But you know, Beauty and the Beast is better than that Pirates of the Caribbean ride, in my opinion. But yeah, so it transitions from that, then it goes into the ballroom dance between the two, very beautiful, and then you're sort of just weaving in and out, you know, weaving around, spinning in your ride vehicle, watching them dance to the ending song, and then that's pretty much the end of the attraction. I will say I expected it to be a little longer. Is that weird to say I expected it to be longer than that? But I guess I
expected it to cover more ground. I
think.
Yeah,
that too. But yeah, I guess it has the pre-show to sort of fill some of that time. You know, pre-show is technically part of the ride, but I expected the actual ride part to be a little more lengthier than that. And yeah, overall, kind of awkward. Some of the scenes, like we mentioned, the something there. You're sort of just, you know, sitting there while they sing the entire song. But yeah.
Yeah, and also it's just like, listen, I don't want to armchair Imagineer and say, imagine if the ride had been like this, but so I'll spare that, even though I think I have a couple good points with that, but I'll spare you that. I just think that even though it was its greatest hits, it was like highlights. You get some songs, and okay, what's probably the most iconic and emotional, like that has emotional resonance moments in the entire movie? Probably has one of the most famous shots in the movie too. It is literally the song Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
And we just we skip all of that. We go directly to the transformation and the finale. You know, and it's just like, wouldn't you want to live in that moment and, you know, hear Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Potts, you know, singing that, you know, iconic song, and at least past. I'm not saying it should be like something there where you're sitting there weaving around for 3 minutes listening to the whole song, but I do think that it's like it was just strange, like what they chose to have scenes as and what they didn't. Yeah, I agree with Freddie. I just think an Omnimover would have suited this attraction better. I think what we're learning is that, listen, the trackless ride system, I think we're just very, I'm sure the Imagineers are very excited about it, and they're exploring all the different ways you can use that system, because the system does allow for variety. It allows for different types of experiences. But I do think with something like Beauty and the Beast, a slower, you know, experience in which you can take everything in as you pass by, I just think would have been a stronger experience than having to all of a sudden have these scenes play out that are basically just song to end, and without really capturing what makes Beauty and the Beast, you know, the emotional resonance of Beauty and the Beast. That being said, I'm not dissing this attraction. It's, you know,
it's beautiful.
Overall, it's very good. But like I feel, with the exception of, I mean, Rise of the Resistance is fantastic in every way. But like I feel about most new theme park experiences, there seems to be more emphasis on technology than the integration of technology and story. And
yeah, and I remember we were comparing this ride to the Little Mermaid attraction,
right?
Sort of that Omnimover system to this, sort of in the way of telling.
Right.
Yeah, because they're both from the same sort of era of films, and you know, it's very interesting to sort of compare the two at how the Imagineers decided to tell the story. Because I'm sure if you've ridden the Little Mermaid attraction, it almost tells the complete story of the film. You know, it cuts out a few parts towards the end, but with this, it's really just like we mentioned, a bunch of musical numbers. Not to say that that's a bad thing. I'm sure, you know, kids will get some enjoyment out of seeing, after sitting for 3 minutes listening to the Belle and the Beast sing that song. But yeah, it's interesting to sort of compare the two and sort of see how, you know, if this Beauty and the Beast ride would have been an Omnimover, how they could have sort of formed that around the Little Mermaid style attraction. But, you know, not to say, like we've been saying, not to say this is a bad attraction. I'd love to ride this. I'm sure it looks, you know, amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Jeremy and I have yet to see sort of HD video. I think the one that we saw was just like an quick iPhone video that we watched the other night. So we've yet to see what it looks like in, like 4K fancy video cameras. So we'll see. But I think, Jeremy, unless you have any final thoughts on the Beauty and the Beast attraction, you have any final thoughts?
I just want to respond to the last comment that I said. No, I don't think it should be a book report attraction, and I don't think that the classic Fantasyland rides are book report attractions. What they do is capture the emotional essence of each of those films. So, and that's just not my analysis. I mean, Walt went to like my mind's going at 1,000,000 miles per hour, so I'm going blank on people's names. But Walt went to Ken Anderson and Claude Coates, and who I believe were working on the layout and pacing of those original Fantasyland dark rides. And the instructions he gave them was how he wanted each one of them to sort of give off a different emotion. One with humor, one with I forget the rest of them. But you can watch our Fantasyland video.
Yeah,
for fear, exactly. Other things like that. So you have an experience of an emotional idea of those films. I don't believe it should be a book report ride at all. Little Mermaid is more of a book reporty ride, but I think it does sort of, it goes back and forth. It does capture there is some emotional resonance with Little Mermaid because you actually feel like you're riding a ride version of Little Mermaid. Mm-hmm. But it's not fully a greatest hits, but it's not fully a emotional essence attraction. So yeah.
Well, love to get on this ride. Unfortunately, I don't think us petty U.S. citizens are allowed to fly out to Tokyo nowadays, so it'll probably be a long while until we eventually get to experience this attraction in person. We'd hope to eventually. Fingers crossed. I'm buying some lottery tickets for us tomorrow, Jeremy, and you're gonna help me scratch them off if that's okay, so we can try and save up to go to Tokyo. But I think on that note, before we get into our second topic and our COVID headlines, let's go ahead and take a quick break here to take a listen from the show's sponsors. If you guys are wondering where you can find even more family-friendly live streams just like this one, head on over to theliveplace.com. The Live Place is your headquarters for great family-friendly live streams. They cover anything from Disney to other vacation spots, various variety shows, and have some amazing streamers like Resort TV 1 and myself. Also, be sure to check out puckermint.com, where you can find amazing pins and stickers. Puckermint is based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, just a few hours from where I live, and since I'm a big believer in supporting local artists, we decided to partner up. Be sure to use the coupon code down below when you make your next order. Again, that's puckermint.com and puckermint on Instagram. And we're back, everybody, we're back. And before we get into any of our COVID rundown headlines and our second topic, we do have some voicemails to get to. Very excited to get to these voicemails today. We have a voicemail here from Freddie, so let's go ahead and take a listen here and see what Freddie has to say to us.
Hi, Matt and Jeremy. This is Frederick Chambers from the Imagine Tomorrow podcast. Just wanted to comment on the inclusion key being added in as the fifth key to the customer service sort of policy for the Disney company. It's really interesting just to look at the time that we are in now, and as America and the global audience becomes increasingly more diverse, the need for inclusion begins to rise as well. So it's really a good step in the right direction for Disney. And it really represents not just a shift for them, but, in parts of the industry as well, just the way they think about the products and the films and the attractions that they're developing in the future, about how this is now a fundamental core to not just the way your cast members are going to act, but also the way things are going to be created in terms of Imagineering and the films as well. So it's a really good step. those are just my thoughts, and thanks for making an awesome podcast.
Thanks for the kind words, Freddie. We appreciate it. Yeah, echo everything that he said. Very happy, or I guess very proud of the Walt Disney Company adding this initiative moving forward. Should have been there from the beginning, but I guess, better late than never. But we do have some more voicemails to get to here as well. This is once again from Mr. Mark. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what Mark has to say.
Hey guys, Mark again. I just want to share some of my stray thoughts on the trackless ride technology. Because in my opinion, I feel like that there are three different kinds of trackless ride vehicles. You have the Poppy Pop Roomba, which is Pooh's Honey Hunt, Ratatouille, Beauty and the Beast, and a slightly scaled down version for Aquatopia and Tokyo Disney. And then you have the OGs, the original ones are the theater style ones, which is Universe of Energy and Epcot, and the former Great Movie Ride down at Hollywood Studios.
Good point.
And slightly similar to that, I'd say it's Tower of Terror that would go in that theater style. And then you have the new kind, which is Luigi Frolic and Roadsters, Rise of the Resistance, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Which of those are your favorite and why? Thanks, guys.
Wow, that is a great question. Which version? I believe the question was which version of those trackless ride systems.
Mark, was my ADD active and I totally just checked out? Did you say Mystic Manor at all?
Oh, I don't think he said Mystic Manor. No, that was not included.
All right, I'd be curious what that would categorize as. Which one of those is our favorite? Funny story. I don't think I've ever watched a ride. Probably did years ago. I don't think I've ever watched a ride through of Pooh's Honey Hunt, so I can't comment. It's funny because with trackless ride system, you go. The predecessor definitely is Universe of Energy and Great Movie Ride, but I feel like the way that is used is completely different than what the current trackless ride system is. It's hard for me to compare the two because I think what Universe of Energy, Great Movie Ride, and I guess Tower of Terror falls in there as well, do is to achieve a different effect than what this trackless ride system is. And I think that the current trackless ride system is still figuring it out, right? It goes back to my point earlier. I think Imagineers are excited by the potential for variety of experience with this version of the trackless ride system. And going back to a comment Freddie said earlier that I thought was really good was that it doesn't need to, just because there's a lot of variety, it's not always the best tool to tell every story. The Omnimover is a different story because it's a pretty passive ride experience. Now, passive, I hate to use that because you're actually very alert and active and aware, and everything is happening, around you, and you're being focused on where you go. But that one is suited towards, I think, more of different types. I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but it's hard. It's hard to know. But basically, I can't compare Universe of Energy, Great Movie Ride with Mystic Manor or this Beauty and the Beast. What is interesting, though, I'm sorry, this is just my brain firing in all cylinders, that you mentioned a theater style, right? What was interesting about Beauty and the Beast was that it actually did use that theater style. You go from room to room and you're in those rooms for a longer period of time than you would be normally on an attraction, and you're actually watching a show unfold before you. You be our guest. You're there watching a production number. Some things there, you're watching two animatronics on the opposite sides of the room fall in love with each other. So it's interesting that there is kind of this cross between the original theater style and the new, thrill style to the trackless ride system. And I think that's why this isn't the best ride system for this experience, because it was using sort of that theater style technique, and you go in, you watch some things there, and the vehicles the only exciting things the vehicles can do is bob and weave between each other, So I think what we're learning is that it's a great ride system for thrill, actually, or zany. The thrill of all kinds, not just action adventure, but also just manic cartoon like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So I think that's what we're learning. I think there has to be an element of thrill for this ride system to work, and I don't think you necessarily get that with the content that this ride system was being used for this time.
Yeah, and I guess sort of to that same, bouncing off of that, it's kind of interesting to see the evolution of these trackless ride. I guess the first iteration, moving forward to what we have now, it's interesting sort of comparing that to like the first instance of the Omnimover ever used in a Disney park, which I think was the one in Tomorrowland. My brain is completely fried. Adventure through Inner Space. And then sort of seeing the progression of that moving forward into, the newer, and then sort of comparing that to that. But anyways, I'm fond of the newer sort of style, Rise of the Resistance, and then we have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I think those are used pretty effectively, the ride systems, if Rise of the Resistance is operating on that day, of course. But yeah, really great really great question there from Mark. If you guys have any answers, you can go ahead and drop them in chat, drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And then we do have another voicemail to get to here from Freddie. Guys, there's a lot of voicemails this episode. I'm loving it. Love it when you guys send in voicemails. 575-386-5814 if you'd like to send your opinions on any of the topics that we are talking about today. Let's go ahead and listen to this second voicemail here from Freddie.
Hey, Matt and Jeremy. Just calling back. This is Freddie again. Calling back in regards to the Beauty and the Beast dark ride and the new fan. Definitely, impressive on a superficial level, just with the facade work and the construction there. I think the attraction itself is an interesting departure for a Fantasyland dark ride in that it's more of a show that you passively move between. It's about 5 very large set pieces that you move between, but I believe that the attraction seriously lacks momentum and storytelling that I don't necessarily believe would translate well for American audiences in terms of the dark rides that we experience here. So, while it's definitely impressive in its construction and what it's doing, I think that it has some serious elements that maybe wouldn't lend itself best to a Disneyland or Disney World interpretation. So I hope we get something a little bit different when it does come to Fantasyland receiving something new.
Nice. Great thoughts there from Freddie as well. Jeremy, anything to respond off of there from Freddie?
No, I think we would just be talking in circles. So,
that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have one final voicemail to get here from from Vetter, actually. So let's go ahead and take a listen here and see what Vetter has to say.
Yo, what's up, Matt? It's Vetter from the Discord and currently in your stream. So regarding Disneyland, when you think that they're going to open, or when you think Governor Newsom will, allow the parks to open? Thanks, and have a great, big, beautiful.
I think it cut out there. It cut out there at the end. You meant to say great.
Well, Vetter, actually, thank you for that, because thank you for helping us transition to our next topic, right?
Perfect. Oh, no, actually, we have the COVID rundowns. Dang it, I forgot.
Oh, well, thank you for helping us tease the next topic.
We'll play the voicemail again after we get through the COVID headlines. Just kidding. But before we get into our final topic, it is, of course, time to get into this week's COVID headlines rundown.
This week on Matterhorn Monday, Matt and company continue their reports and discussions on COVID-19 and its impact on the Disney company around the world.
Alrighty, everybody. First headline here: Walt Disney World now surveying guests about limited park capacity and virtual queues. WDW News Today. And of course, links to all of these articles will be linked down in the description below, as well as links to all the other articles that we happen to reference during this episode. If you'd like to dive further into them, yeah, links will be down below. Second headline here: Governor Ron DeSantis will be lifting restaurant capacity restrictions and supports Walt Disney World increasing capacity, from WDW News Today as well. Third headline here: Governor again, DeSantis moves Florida into phase 3 of reopening, and then sort of building off of that. Fourth and final headline: masks will still be required in Orange County despite the phase 3 reopening, or at least Walt Disney World will still be enforcing their mask policy in the parks, which glad to, see that they're still enforcing that, because we're still, in a global pandemic. So it'd be kind of weird if they said, oh, no masks is fine. But other than that, that has wrapped up this week's COVID headlines rundown. And finally, now, perfect transition from Vetter. We're going to be talking more about the Disneyland Resort, of course, and Disney pressuring the government for reopening. Now, we sort of touched on this, or I guess we didn't touch on this. We punched on this. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better word other than touched. Last week when we discussed the Disney covering up the COVID cases and all that kind of stuff, and sort of Jeremy's theory on why Disneyland has not opened yet. But a new campaign of public That's a tough word.
Deep breath, focus, breathe through your ribs.
Condemnation? I've never heard of that word in my entire life.
Okay, but don't admit you're stupid on air.
Okay. Anyways, campaign of public condemnation. There we go. From Disney executives against California Governor Gavin Newsom has occurred over the past week regarding the reopening of Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. Tomorrow has stated it's time for Disneyland to open. Amongst hints from Newsom that an announcement regarding news about a reopening of theme parks in the state. Disney President Ken Potrock. Interesting. I hope I pronounced that right. Called for a collaboration between Disney and the state to come to mutually accepted reopening guidelines. Disney cites the successful reopening of Walt Disney World as proof that they are the industry leaders in safe theme park reopening. Kind of interesting reading that after what we talked about last week, but no reopening date for Disneyland or any other California theme park has been released by Newsom yet, despite the previous hint that a reopening plan would be announced, quote-unquote, soon, whenever that may be. Now, I don't know if you guys watch the screenshot that we're showing here is from a video that I believe the governor, or the mayor of Anaheim, the mayor of Orange Grove, I believe, sort of got together on top of, I can't remember which hotel it was, of course, overlooking California Adventure, sort of asking the state governments that they need the reopening guidelines to reopen the theme parks. They mentioned something along the lines of how churches are open, gyms, I believe they stated, something along those effects, but nothing for theme parks, supermarkets as well. So yeah, it's a very interesting video. I'll try and find it and link it down below, because they do seem very upset, very angry at the state, especially the governor here of Anaheim that you see on screen. But Jeremy,
the governor of Anaheim,
the mayor of Anaheim. God, thank you for correcting me there. But Jeremy, what are your thoughts here after Disneyland once again pleading the government to reopen, and sort of they're saying that they are the industry leaders in safe theme park reopening, but that's not really what we've been hearing, especially after what we covered last week on the show.
Yeah. I think it's very complicated. There was that press conference, that private press conference. The good news is, from what I'm hearing, that they will be providing testing for Disneyland cast members, which is good, probably because they can't get away with that here as they could in Florida, which now everyone's going to be running around maskless and back to normal. Okay, not in Disney World though, thank God. Good for Disney for not doing that. I want to know more details about that. I want to know more details about if they are, how extensive their contact tracing is going to be. I want to know if they've learned from what has happened and what is happening with their CMs in Florida before I go, like, yes, open Disneyland up. Absolutely. Let's open it up. Let's go. So I think there's more reason to be like, I think we can open it up slowly. I think we have to do it well. But I think it can be done. At the same time though, what I talked about last week was how brilliant the Walt Disney Company is at PR. So they're great. They can spin anything in their direction, anytime, any topic, anything at all. So it's easy to buy into this idea that Newsom hates Disneyland, hates Orange County, doesn't want the parks to reopen, is being flippant. He's the governor of California, which is the size of like 2 European countries. The state is still on fire. There still is a virus, which he does take more seriously than other governors do. It's not that I want to cut him some slack. It's that I kind of understand if reopening Disneyland is not the highest priority on the priority list, because I do think it is a priority. So yeah, basically that's how I feel about it. And I do think it'll open soon-ish. I hope it does, but I do want to know more. I do want to know more about how they will be providing testing for CMs. I think the language that was used in someone who was reporting back at the press conference on Twitter said they will be providing testing for cast members' communities, something like that. And I want to know what that means. Does that mean on-site testing? Does that mean something else? I want to know what it means. And again, I want to know what their contact tracing plan is in depth. And I think from a PR perspective, that would be the most brilliant thing to do.
Sure. Yeah, I agree, especially like we mentioned what we covered last week on the episode in regards to the Florida cases that have been popping up around, or downtown Disney as well. But, not to sound like a broken record like we have been for the past however many episodes we've been talking about this, I do feel like Disneyland should reopen soon, and I think there have been some signs, I guess is what you can call them, quote-unquote signs of the park reopening. I believe in downtown, or I guess in the Esplanade, they've installed, I guess not installed, but put down the 6 feet sort of tape on the entrances of Disneyland in the Esplanade. So take that with what you will, whether or not that's a sign that it's reopening soon. But again, you got to look at it from the perspective of the working people as well, people who have jobs in Orange County, people who have jobs at Disneyland. They've been out of work, like we've been saying, out of work since April, since August, or not August,
March.
Since March. August, what is anyways, they've been out of work since March, and who knows if they've been able to find any temporary jobs. I'm sure it's hard to find a job just at all nowadays because of the whole virus and everything. But you got to look at it from that side as well. But it is also very important to take the safety of the cast members, of the guests, make that the forefront, put that in the forefront. Is that how the saying goes? You guys know what I mean. Put that first is, I guess, what I meant to say. You got to put the safety of the guests and the cast members first. And I agree with Jeremy. I do think Disney should release their plans for the on-site testing and for their contact tracing. We'll see if they do. I don't know. But yeah, so it is very interesting, and I believe we have a voicemail here from Vetter. So let's go ahead and take a listen here and see what Mr. Vetter has to say about the topic at hand.
Tomorrow. It's Vetter again. I just want to say that I feel like the parks, I said this earlier, but I feel like the parks should open right now because I have my dad's friend was a manager for the stores at a Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and she actually got furloughed and she has 2 kids, and that's her only, source of income, being a manager at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. She was a manager at, the Casey's Corner. No, not, Coke Corner, sorry, Long Park, Casey Corner, and, I feel like it's a good thing that, the city of California and the mayor, not Governor Matt, the mayor of Orange County is saying that, hey, Disneyland needs to open in order to get this, economy rolling again, and, I know you guys are probably going to talk about this next week, but I believe it was today or yesterday, the city of Orange County, I believe, they, posted a video saying that we can't thrive without, Disneyland being open, and we also can't thrive without any theme parks open. So the state of California, living in it, it's kind of dry right now, and I know that Florida has almost everything open already, and all the other theme parks around the world are open, except for us, even though we have really low numbers now in California. Sorry for this very long voicemail, but I just felt like it needed to be said, and have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. I actually did it correct this time. All right, bye.
All right, yeah, great voicemail from Vetter. Thank you for sending that in. Yeah, Jeremy, anything to right off the top of your head before we continue on about the voicemail?
Yeah, well, that's exactly why it's complicated, because, yeah, people need to get back to work. People are dependent on their source of income. And, yeah, it's extremely difficult. I hear this argument being repeated that the parks are open in the rest of the world. Why not here?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it's a valid argument, and it's nothing against you personally, better. It was interesting that you brought that up, because the rest of the world has handled this virus far better than we have, and they have their numbers far better under control than we have, so they can reopen safely. What we were learning about with Florida is that listen, you can enforce masks, you can do oh my God, I'm turning into Matt. You can sanitize everything. You can enforce social distancing, but if you're not gonna, come up with a comprehensive plan for on-site access to the best possible COVID testing, with the best possible contact tracing, which they should have done from the beginning. And we're seeing with Florida, I mean, this is the, it's happening again. It's like they're moving on to this phase 3, which is pretty much almost back to normal in the middle of another little surge. So I don't get it. But with California, I mean, our numbers are a little better. There is a little tiny surge. Our numbers are a little better, but it also depends on the counties. It depends on where you are, right? Yeah, I mean, the theme park industry is big, especially in Southern California. But again, California is a big country. That's funny. California is a big state. We did have, for a period of time after New York got things under control, then we were the ones that, it was really, really bad here. It's still going on. It's not, under control in as much as where other theme parks have opened around the world. It's complicated. Yeah, I understand the economic anxiety of wanting to get back to work. I mean, I'm going through that as well. Everyone I know is going through that, and I wish we could have done more to prevent that from happening. But it's complicated because I think that they if they are masters at PR, if they want people to believe them when they say we are the model for the safest possible way to reopen a theme park, then sit us down, pull a Walt Disney, sit us down on television, walk us through every single detail of what makes you the greatest model for safety. Tell us exactly how you're going to revolutionize on-site testing for your employees and lead the way for every company around the world with the best possible testing, the best possible contact tracing. Walk us through that model if it's the safest, if it's the best. Walk us through it. Don't just tell us it in a private press conference.
Yeah.
Show us.
A really great point made there for Mr. Jeremy. I do agree. Let's see. Freddie says in chat, we are out of work and unemployment isn't paying like it used to. I want Disneyland to open, but it is more important that it is done safely for the cast members and guests. Got to agree with Freddie as well.
I agree 100%.
You know, and I guess we did sort of fail to mention, I think Vetter mentioned it as well in the voicemail, that I believe, I can't remember exactly who made the sort of commercial or whatever it was with filming inside Disneyland that they put out, saying that they're ready to be open. They need the guidelines from, from the state. So Disney has been, pushing, even harder as of recently to try and get the place reopened. But, try not to sound like a broken record here, but we all want Disneyland to reopen, and I do agree with Jeremy. I think the Walt Disney Company should sort of put forth their plans publicly on what they're going to be doing when it comes to on-site testing, when it comes to contact tracing for the cast members and for the guests as well, for their safety. So hopefully the next time we have this discussion, that is what we'll be talking about. Disneyland will have their guidelines released when it comes to, all their contact tracing and their on-site testing, but who knows? A lot can change within a week. So, Jeremy, unless you have any final thoughts on this topic?
I don't have any final thoughts on this topic. No, I do not.
No final thoughts on this topic, huh? Well. I think on that note, it's time to wrap up this week's episode of Matterhorn Mondays. Thank you all for coming out to today's episode. Thank you to everybody who sent in the voicemails. And of course, you can always call in, maybe later in the week. Maybe you're listening to the show while you're doing dishes or something, and, maybe your granddad is Bob Chapek, and you've been hearing some rumblings around dinner table that they're going to be doing the on-site testing. You can call in, leave a voicemail, 575-38... What is that? 575-386-5814. I don't know why my mind just went blank after that. 575-386-5814. We love listening to what you guys have to say. It's better than, reading the chat. Yeah. We actually get to hear your guys' voice. And, thank you all for coming to today's episode. Links to everything will be down in the description, as well as links to all
Check your voter registration. Remember to vote.
Yes. Almost forgot to say
I won't do my full spiel.
That's okay. We'll put it in the comments or in the description down below. But
if you have any questions, I mean it. DM me on Twitter, and I'll help you out.
Jeremy has been very helpful to a lot of us the past week or so when it comes to that. But I think on that note, it's time to sort of to end this episode. I need to finish my Snapple, and I need to go to sleep because
all right, good for you.
Well, anyways, on that note, thank you all for coming to today's episode, and as always, have a great big beautiful tomorrow.